Hello, everyone. It's Dr. Anna Cabeca here. I'm so excited to be here with Dave Asprey. So super excited to be talking about, oh my gosh, first of all, talking with the ingenious creator and founder of Bulletproof, a very wonderful company, organization, I would say, passion too. It's like what we can do to really improve our health and to optimize our life. So Dave, it's great to have you here today. Thank you for joining me.
Anna, thanks for having me on. It's super cool.
Yeah, so I know you've been busy and you have your new book out. I'm going to, for our audience, we were talking about his new book, Headstrong. So this is Dave's new New York Times bestseller. Congratulations.
Oh, thank you. I'm so excited to be able to hit the New York Times. It was a super honor.
Well, can I tell you that I hated the fact that I read it on my way to New Orleans for Jazz Fest? Hear your voice in my head when I'm eating a beignet. All right. Not to mention what I was drinking. But
it happens. And the whole point is that, we can know what's going on and we can still choose to do something enjoyable and then choose to counteract what it does to us because no one's perfect. And that guilt and striving for perfection actually costs you a huge amount. Like, it's totally not worth it. And that's something I struggled with when I weighed 300 pounds. Like if I eat this cheeseburger, it's the end of the world. And well, maybe you just throw away the bun and you eat the cheeseburger anyway. And it's all good, right? like it's a graceful degradation versus just being completely destroyed.
Oh, no. And I always say, it's a blessing to be able to detox after retox, right? We know what we're doing. But that's the key. Exactly what you said is don't let it keep going, right? We know what it's doing to our body. We have our limits, we have our boundaries, and we have our hard lines for sure. There are things that I will not step across, right? And quickly to get back on and knowing what our addictions are or what I would say beignet is now my new heroin. So, all right. So tell us, I want to talk about Headstrong, this awesome new book, and, what brought you to create this book? And first of all, why did you title it Headstrong?
I really wanted people to understand that what we're talking about here is not about having abs. Like that, it's completely not what the goal is. The goal is to have energy in your brain. And very few of us, even in health and in biology, even in university research, have come to the conclusion that almost everything that happens in our body happens in our brain first, because we have a set of instructions in our body that's like, how do you make the building, the meat of your body? And that's your DNA. But we have another set of instructions, which is how do you put the wiring inside the building? And that's your mitochondria, these power plants in your cells. It's only 10% of your body weight, but it controls everything about your body. And the first place you feel cravings, the first place that you feel good, and the first place you feel this limitless energy that I didn't have as a young man that I have now, it's all in the brain, and it all comes from these ancient bacteria that are part of our body. So it's a very different perspective than eat this to be healthy. Screw that noise. Everyone wants to be healthy, but this isn't about being healthy. This is about having full power to be who you are. And that's why I wrote the book. This is what hundreds of thousands of dollars and almost 20 years running an anti-aging group and losing 100 pounds and raising my IQ and literally getting younger. That's why I wrote the book, because it all comes down to a quadrillion ancient bacteria distributed throughout your body that are calling the shots, and you can tell them what to do.
Yeah, no, and I love in the book how you talked about the evolution and the purpose and the a development of mitochondria in our cellular function, and went into the biochemistry in a way that was really understandable. I wish I had read that in medical school that way.
Wow, that's a huge compliment. Thank you.
Yeah.
Maybe it's because I didn't go to medical school, but I did used to teach classes on how. Hey, Sherry, thanks for that kind comment. How do you teach something as complex as the internet to engineers? That's what I did for 5 years. So for me to grasp this, I didn't understand what I was dealing with in my own body was I have these physical things, and you have these emotional things that feel like they're different animals, but it turns out they're related. And what the bacteria, these ancient bacteria that are your mitochondria, what they do drives a lot of your emotions. So when you change them, all of a sudden, a lot of these cravings and anxiety and distraction and all these brain weaknesses that we think are us, they're not us. Even some of our core urges, like if I don't eat that donut, I'm going to die, that's actually not even you. That is an ancient system in your body that's telling you to believe that. And if you believe it, then you're like, I'm a bad person, I'm weak. But if you realize that's a wiring problem, then you're not a bad person, you're not weak, you're just dealing with a wiring problem, and you can hack that. So the whole point of Headstrong is that these things that we feel most guilty about, they are not moral failings, they're not weakness, they're not lack of trying, they're not lack of willpower, they're just misfiring ancient bacteria that are pretty dumb. We can totally hack them.
Yeah. And let's talk about that, because in your book you state cravings are not a moral failing. And that is so important for people to hear that. I just love that statement. So let's talk about that and talk about why, and that reason that willpower is an energetic phenomenon, not necessarily I can think myself into the straight way of being.
It's amazing when you realize every single thought you have comes from an electron. Like the same electrons that power your iPhone or your computer, those are identical to what's powering the neurons in our brain. In fact, the mitochondria that make that energy are semiconductors, even related to what happens in an LED light bulb or what happens in one of our devices. So these systems in the body evolved to cause you to feel panic, to feel like you're going to die if they don't have enough food. So if there isn't just a little bit of a reduction in energy, something isn't working just right, they're like, it's the end of the world, eat the donut or you're going to die. And then you get that message in your head, and then you're like, okay, I'm going to say no because I'm a good person. And then a minute later, that same voice in your head goes, you're dying, eat the donut. And eventually you say, I'll just eat half the donut, right? And then you're like, I'm such a failure. I told myself I wasn't going to eat the donut today, and I ate the donut. It's because I'm weak. No, what happened is every time you said no, you used up all of your decision-making capacity. Your willpower is based on those electrons, right? So now all of a sudden, it's no surprise that you hit the wall. It's no surprise you ate half the donut. But what's free for you now is it's not because you're a bad person. It's because your lack of energy biologically overwhelmed your ability to say no. And you can recognize that it happened. And next time you understand you can change what you do to have more energy. And when you have more energy, the cravings go away. And now that Headstrong has been out for a couple of weeks, I've had dozens and dozens of people post online already saying things like, I did the 2-week Headstrong program, and I can't believe this, but within 2 days, my cravings were gone. Right? And you're like, wait, the cravings were a part of you. No, they weren't. They were a separate system in your body that was malfunctioning, and you were taking responsibility for it. You were feeling guilty about it, and it was totally not true. It was all a story you told yourself. Craving means it's your fault if you have a craving. Absolutely. But it doesn't mean you're a bad person. It just means you did something that caused a craving. And in Headstrong, I'm like, these are the things that cause brain weaknesses that lead to cravings. Don't do them anymore, or do less of them. Or if you do them, counteract them with something that gives you extra energy in your brain. And then all of a sudden, you're like, woohoo, I feel great.
Well, let's talk about how you came to this conclusion, how you did your work to do this, because this is energy medicine. This is what you're talking about, this field of energy medicine, mitochondrial medicine, electron transport chain, right? Improving our, entire energy. But I do want to thank all our listeners. We've got a lot of people watching. And also I encourage you, for our viewers, to just add some questions. What a beautiful thing to be able to be here with Dave Asprey and talking about his awesome book, Headstrong. And I just want to thank you all for being here. So thank you, Sherry. Thank you, Greg, who is icing his face right now. Let me just show that, because we talk about cold therapy. You talk about cold therapy. I first heard that from my colleague, my medical colleague, Dr. Jack Cruz, and discussing brown fat. So can you just address why Greg is icing his face right now?
Oh, sure. Going back about 15 years, I started sticking my face in ice. And it's because actually of the vagal nerve, which is a nerve that controls much of your autonomic, your fight or flight response throughout the body. It goes through your face. When you stick your face in ice water, you get something called the dive reflex kicked off that changes your mitochondria. So in Headstrong, I recommend doing these either cold showers or sticking your face in ice water. And there's some extremists out there who recommend like very, very cold water to the point people get hypothermia. You mentioned one of them before. The evidence that I've seen is that that's not necessary. And in fact, the current state of the art in cold therapy is you can do cryotherapy for 3 minutes with liquid nitrogen. But you don't need to sit in 35-degree water until the point of passing out. That even just 60-degree water is plenty. So having a cold shower that hits your face, I did that this morning. When you travel, you can totally do that. And here's the cool thing, going back to these mitochondria that tell you what to do. Your mitochondria have a voice in your body, and it feels like the voice in your head. So when you first are at the end of your nice warm shower and the water's hitting you right in the face, and you turn the water all the way over to cold, you're going to get this voice in your head that goes, "Oh my God, you're going to die." And you're going to last about 8 seconds of cold water on your face, and it's going to hurt. And you're going to be like, "That was horrible," right? But then if you go and you do it again the next morning, you're going to go for 20 seconds before the voice in your head wins. And then the next day, 30 seconds. And the day after that, you'll be like, "You know what? This actually feels good." So it takes about 4 days to make the voice in your head shut up. Now, what we believe commonly is that, oh, now I have more willpower, I'm stronger. Well, yeah, or the cold water killed the weak mitochondria that were complaining so they could be replaced with stronger mitochondria. Your body changed and became more resilient. So it's not that you got more willpower, it's that your body, number one, got trained to stop complaining, and number two, it got stronger. Number three, it burned a lot more calories throughout the day. So these are really, really powerful techniques, and it requires just enough discomfort that, okay, we're talking like under 30 seconds of discomfort, and your body will respond by getting warm. You won't be cold all day. If you are cold all day after that, you need to go see Anna because you have a thyroid problem.
Or hormone imbalance for sure. And
Yeah.
And speaking of which, in menopause and dealing with women in menopause, I mean, so many of like this, I love your book because it reinforces the ideal way, especially after age 50, right? And I have, a 9-year-old and I'm 51 years old. It's important for me to age well, especially where brain function's concerned, right? Because these guys, especially the teenagers, know how to.
Are you really 51?
I'll be 51 this July. So,
I totally would not have guessed that. So you're doing something right.
Thank you for that, Dave. Very sweet. So yeah, and I think, this whole energetic component, and you hit those areas in the book, and I mean, had to dig into the research to get this stuff. So I am just thrilled that you're bringing it out in this beautiful way. And one of the things, especially with cold therapy, women with, really hot, hard to treat hot flashes, that is an excellent way. And I've done the nitrogen chambers and things like that. It does get better with time. So I want to encourage people. I mean, this method sounds much simpler than, what I've processed through. So, but I can definitely, don't you think that it would help hot flashes as well?
Oh, my wife Lana is also 50, and we have actually, she just turned 10, so pretty similar situation. Oh. And hot flashes happen. In fact, this is a little known fact. I talk in Headstrong about mitochondrial density, which is, okay, these are little batteries in your body, little power plants. And you have the most of them in the front of your brain. And you have the same amount in your eyes and in your heart, about 15,000 per cell. But here's the interesting thing. Women have, in part of your ovaries, you have 100,000 mitochondria per cell. So women have this like crazy density there that oftentimes gets overlooked when we talk about mitochondrial medicine. But they're the ones who are controlling the hot flash. In fact, your mitochondria make pregnenolone, which is one of the mother hormones that turns into DHEA that then can turn into stress hormones or sex hormones, right? So these little guys, they're calling the shots. And if you can change the signal from your environment with cold water or with food or by avoiding toxins that are a major trigger for hot flashes, a lot of people don't know that. You stress the mitochondria by eating something or breathing something that makes them perform a little worse than normal. And they're like, oh my God, end of the world, let's pour on the heat. And then like you turn red and you're panting and no one wants to be around you, you know?
Yeah, no, absolutely. You drench, right? And
Yeah.
experiencing that as well when exposed to a food sensitivity. Absolutely. Yes. Yeah.
And so you're one of the few medical professionals I know who talks about that, because if you're sitting there and you're going, sometimes I get hot flashes and it really sucks. And if they're random, you have no responsibility, but you have no control. And if hot flashes, I'm going to say it again, they're your fault, which is really irritating. But what that means, you have control. There is something you can do. You are not helpless in the face of a hot flash. And like for me, I was dealing with massive brain fog during my career. My career is growing, I'm working really hard, and I can't remember what's going on, and I'm not in control of my emotions. And all this stuff, it wasn't me. It was my biology. And my biology doesn't listen to me very well. And there is a mechanism in Headstrong. Breathing exercises change your heart. When your heartbeat changes, the mitochondria feel the magnetic field of a heartbeat. So you can talk to them a little bit there, which is why breathing helps. But they listen to everything around us much more. So if you set up your environment so that there's less stress on these things, or maybe more stress sometimes so the weak ones will die and be replaced with strong ones, the hot flashes can be controlled. And you probably need some hormone therapy depending on what's going on. And it can be terribly frustrating, right? But the reason I say it's, quote, your fault isn't to piss you off. It's that it is something that is hackable, something that can be controlled. And the reason it's, quote, your fault is that you haven't yet figured out what it is, but it's not random. It's not something that must happen. It's something that especially if you're working with a medical professional, there's so many leverage points that haven't been worked on. So if you do the hormonal stuff, but you also do the ice baths, you also take sugar out of your diet, you look at sleep timing. And one of the big things is light exposure. In fact, do I have any of my True Dark glasses floating around?
Yeah, that's awesome, because this is what I want to talk about is, some of these hacks that you do, the biohacks and the first steps for better mood. Because I always tell my clients, especially in menopause, look, if you're looking for a diet answer, you're not going to find a dietary answer, right? Because health is maybe 25% about what we eat and how we move, about 25, maybe 50%, okay, less than half. But it's where we live, it's how we think. So there's many other components to that.
It's really amazing too. One night of bad sleep lowers your ability to regulate your blood sugar by up to 40%. If your blood sugar goes down, then what happens is you get a brownout in your brain, and then the brain says, "Oh, panic mode. Here's some cortisol," right? So all of a sudden, then you can even trigger a hot flash. So one of the things that is a major contributor to sleep quality and ability to regulate blood sugar is your light exposure. So if you're working in an office under bright LED lights or bright fluorescent lights, which so many of us do today, at the end of the day, you're likely to have sugar cravings and be tired because you stressed your mitochondria all day long, and they're like, "Can I have some more energy here?" One of the things that came about during the research for Headstrong is that 5% of the light receptors in your eyes are light that you never see in your brain. It goes right past your visual processing into something called the SCN. And I've been down to the Salk research labs in San Diego and talked with the professors down there who are doing the work. And it turns out those spectrums of light are telling your body whether you should get deep sleep or not get deep sleep. So there's a new kind of glasses. They're called True Dark glasses, and they make you look super sexy, as you can tell if you're watching me. What these are, though, these are optical filters that filter out every spectrum of light your mitochondria can see. So I can still look at my phone at night. I can still do what I want to do, but my body believes it's pitch dark. So it starts winding down. And there's a daytime version of these that are lighter than blue blockers. Because what I used to do is I'd wear blue blockers all day long. They aren't good enough to induce sleep, and they're too much during the day. So you need a light reduction, but not elimination of blue during the day. And you need to totally cut out all of the bad spectrums at night. So when I do this, like for jet lag, I flew for the Headstrong tour, I flew from Vancouver to New York to San Diego, to Austin, back and forth. I didn't have any jet lag, and I got 2 hours of deep sleep every night according to my sleep monitoring ring. Like, I've never been able to do that before, and it's all about the light. It's not even the food, right? So those are things, light, temperature, food, electromagnetic spectrum, all of that. That's what your mitochondria care about. They don't really care about you.
Yeah, well said. Well, so what is the name of those dark glasses?
They're called True Dark glasses. The company is called Biohacked. Hacked. I'm the primary investor in that company. But this is a patented kind of glasses that, for me, has totally changed. Like my ability to relax my brain. I fly on airplanes with these, and my body, it's like Valium for the eyes. It's just like, and then the brain relaxes, or like noise canceling headphones sort of for your eyes. But before bed, I've never experienced anything like this. So I've seen an improvement in my sleep. I've put on a substantial amount of muscle using the Headstrong program and just doing things to add to my mitochondria, including, Maurice has some, hey Maurice. In order to increase the mitochondria in my body, I put on a lot of muscle. And some of the stuff is in the book, some of the other stuff is on the blog. But I wasn't trying to put on muscle, it was just a side effect. I've also, since doing all these techniques, for 20 years I've been on thyroid medication. I'm off of my thyroid entirely, which is ridiculous and amazing. I've been working on that for years. So it's amazing what you can do when you turn your power on all the way.
And that's something I found, going keto alkaline, getting ketogenic, but plus alkaline, reducing necessary hormones. And that is relating to that whole cell membrane effect. And so we've got some great comments. I am getting feedback. I apologize. I hear
I can probably make.
And I know we just have a couple minutes, but
grab the headphones on the cord.
Carrie and Ray asked, how long of a cold shower is recommended? So what do you recommend, Dave?
I recommend starting with 30 seconds and working your way up to 2 to 4 minutes. And if you want to get real fancy about it, you can actually do 1 minute warm, 1 minute cold, 1 minute warm, 1 minute cold. And for people listening who don't do this, like, are you a crazy man? Like, that's the most horrible thing I can possibly imagine. You have to trust me. 4 days of pain. After that, like, actually, I feel really good and it doesn't hurt. And after a couple of weeks of this, you actually look forward to it because, strangely enough, it is relaxing. You sit there, you're like, is this really possible? Underneath the camera here, we're on the second floor, I have a digitally controlled cold ice bath. So I can dial up what temperature it is. And you would think, like, getting in a cold pool sucks, but I can sit in here in water that's 50 degrees. And the first 2 minutes, you're like, oh, this is just miserable. And then it's like your body just melts and just gives into it. And it feels so good. You get a huge endorphin response. And then you burn fat for hours and hours afterwards. And you actually get younger. It's unbelievable. Short discomfort followed by, I feel great.
Yeah, that's awesome. I was just interviewing and speaking with a friend of mine, Bill Andrews, who is all about telomeres and what we can do to keep them as long as possible or grow them longer, which is quite the challenge. But something like cold therapy can decrease telomere shortening. So, that is huge. And these hacks on bioelectrics, right? The EMFs and getting a good night's sleep, these lifestyle factors decrease aging and improve our quality of our longevity. So Robert asked here, and I know we're going to round up. So guys, any last minute questions, but we're going to close in a second. But he asked, what happens to cortisol levels, either the hot or cold?
Well, if you're in extreme adrenal fatigue, a cold shower might even be too much for you. You might need to start out with some deep breathing exercises, heart rate variability. If you only slept 2 hours last night, if you're used to cold showers, it'll probably be a really good thing for you. If you're not used to it, it'll probably be a pretty big shock to the system. So you may see when you first start doing it, an increase in cortisol briefly. But once you do it regularly, you'll actually see a decrease in cortisol, unless your cortisol is too low, in which case it'll either stay where it is or it might even go up to healthy levels. Do you agree? You're the doctor. I'm just an unlicensed biohacker.
I absolutely agree. And we need to license biohacking. So Summer asks here, love to know information on the sleep monitoring ring that you mentioned.
Oh, sure. I don't have any affiliation with this company or anything. It's called an Oura, O-U-R-A. And I was CTO of Basis, one of the wristband companies. So I spent a lot of my last decade working on devices. Let's see if the camera even can do this. It's got little sensors inside it, and it's a few $100. but it's waterproof, which is something I keep breaking stuff, and it's very tiny compared to most like wristy things. And it's got really good quality sleep data, so it tells you how many minutes of deep and REM sleep, better than the stuff that just runs on your phone using the microphone. So I'm kind of a fan, even though it's the only wearable device I've ever worn for more than 6 weeks before I either broke it or threw it away. So maybe it's good.
So is it Bluetooth, and is there any concern about that?
It is 1/1000th of the EMF of a typical Bluetooth device because it doesn't transmit at all unless you turn your phone on and tell your phone to ping the ring. So it lasts for 3 days. It's a very, very low power. And if you really wanted to, you could take it off in the morning before you sync it with your phone. But it's not regularly communicating. I won't sleep with a Bluetooth device on. It doesn't transmit when you're sleeping.
Great information. I think just so many things just today between the cold showers or cold therapy and working on that, and those definitely blue light blockers are going with the blue.
More than blue light, because the blue light blockers, you can buy them for $9 on Amazon, but the blue light blockers make it too tired during the day and they block too much color. And then at night, they don't make you sleepy enough. So what this is, it's like 2 sets. It's like light blue blockers during the day and then circadian rhythm compliant filters at night. It's a big evolution there. And this stuff and a lot more that you can do. It's in a 2-week program that's there for the Headstrong book. It's in everywhere you can buy books right now. And you can go to the Bulletproof website, and you can listen to Bulletproof Radio where I talk about this a bunch. And you can certainly buy it online, but it is thousands of hours of research. There's stuff in here that's never been written about what sunlight does to energy production inside your eyes, to oxygen levels. And you think, why would I care? Bottom line is small changes to your environment equals big changes to the energy. Most people listening probably are running at 70% of their potential energy capacity, and you think it's normal, and it's totally not normal. Like you should always be able to push the accelerator down more and go faster when you need to. Where I was a while ago, I had the pedal all the way to the floor, and I was going slower and slower and slower, and I didn't know what to do. And that's not how we're supposed to be. So I have a level of resilience and energy at 44 that I never had at 24. And this is how I did it. So it's the most important thing I could think of to write about. So I would encourage people to check it out. I promise it's worth 4 hours of reading time.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I highly recommend it. And plus you have, you have so many great resources on your website as well. And your podcast is always a great resource. I've enjoyed listening to so many of them too, Dave. Keep up the awesome work. I do want to address this one beautiful
your awesome work too. I appreciate your work. I follow it. And I appreciate that you had me on your show too. That's cool.
Thank you. I know we're out of time, but I want to answer this one beautiful woman's question. Hope Willis, she says, if sleep at night isn't always possible, she has a 5-year-old with autism who wakes up at night and doesn't fall asleep quickly. Are naps beneficial, or does the sleep need to be continuous? Hope, thanks for sharing this and asking this question.
Napping is beneficial, especially in a case like that. The other thing is, look at your child's sleep environment. Low EMF, electrically grounded mattress, and a fully blacked out pitch black room. One LED in your child's bedroom will affect his mitochondria's ability to talk to each other and organize at night. My kids sleep through the night 99.5% of the time, and they always have, and they don't even know what a nightlight is. Because their rooms are pitch black, and that's just how it is. So you can help an autistic child be calmer through a better sleep environment. And I used to have all the symptoms of Asperger's syndrome, ODD, OCD. I'm a very different human than I was after I became a biohacker. And Asperger's runs in my family, and I was actually concerned that my kids would end up on the spectrum because I am, and because we had them later in life. And put a lot of research into my very first book on fertility for that. So I care a lot about what's happening with autism. And just to give you hope, your child's only 5. There's things like neurofeedback. A lot of autistic kids will do heart rate variability training because it's a video game. There's nothing like watching a 5-year-old for the first time ever take a deep breath. Because when you ask a 5-year-old, they go, but when they play a little video game, they're like, and that'll change your life as a parent. So you have a lot of hope there.
Yeah, heart rate variability is amazing. I'm actually teaching at Mind Valley University this summer, the first Mind Valley Academy in Barcelona, and I'm going to teach heart rate variability. So yeah, so some heart math and some heart rate variability. So
You're teaching that. That is so exciting. Which tools do you recommend?
Well, I use heart math, and there's also a heart rate variability monitor I used in my medical practice that we'll use. And I'm also going to bring some Muse from Aerial Muse, some of the Muse headbands, and just getting people in tune with that concept of neurofeedback or biofeedback, and just be able to listen to their body better. So
you're doing a great service by teaching people that. And I love that you're doing it through Mind Valley, which is I've been to some of their events, and Vishen's a good friend. I've been on the advisory board for the Heart Math company since 2008, and it's a great tool, very, very accessible for people, and it does your mitochondria will listen to your heart, which is why when you change your heart, they will change your energy production. They'll take you out of fight or flight. They'll stop the sugar cravings just from what you're teaching on, which is really cool. And the medical grade stuff, we use that at 40 Years of Zen, the neurofeedback, like high-end executive brain training thing that I do. We use a medical grade thing as well, but for the average, even hedge fund manager or mom, it doesn't matter, or a 5-year-old, the heart math stuff for $100, it's life changing. So good for you. I love that.
Coherence. And it's also like what you've done, what you talk about, how you evolved, and you give that story so well in your book. So it's that not just about being a better physical, being better physically or mentally, it's being a better person, right? And you're an awesome person, and you give so much, and you share so much, and you're so generous with this information. So I praise you. I praise all our listeners, and I thank you, everyone. If you haven't read Headstrong yet, I encourage you to go get it. Bulletproof.com, and follow Dave's podcast. And also I will check back questions later on this live and answer them, and ping Dave to answer as well. So appreciate your questions, your feedback. Keep writing it. I know there's a lot that we didn't get to today. So thank you again, Dave. Thank you to all our listeners. And we'll see you soon.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Oh, I could talk to you forever.
That was so fun. Thank you.
Yeah. Oh, it was so fun. It was really good. Thank you so much.